All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today we're looking at what has to be one of the absolute strangest yet most awe-inspiring urban projects on the entire planet. We're talking about a monumental endeavor that's going to completely reshape the Egyptian desert. It's a project that is literally testing the limits of modern engineering and honestly just sheer human ambition.
So, I want you to imagine standing in the middle of a completely barren wasteland. Nothing but dry sand stretching all the way to the horizon, right? Well, in just 5 years, an artificial river is slated to be flowing exactly where you're standing. And it won't just be water. It'll be completely surrounded by towering skyscrapers, sprawling farmlands, and millions of new homes. I know, it sounds exactly like science fiction, but this is actually happening right now.
The name of this brand new city is Jerian. Now, that translates from Arabic to mean flow, which, is a pretty perfect name when you think about it. It perfectly describes its totally seemingly impossible centerpiece, an artificial branch of the Nile River that's actively being carved straight through the desert sand just west of Cairo.
But of course, this naturally begs the question, why? Why would Egypt attempt an engineering project this extreme? To figure out why a government would decide to build a massive river in the middle of a barren desert, we really have to look at how trapped the country is by its own unique geography. See, roughly 97% of Egypt's freshwater comes from one single source. Just one, the Nile River. Only 3% comes from anywhere else. That means, quite literally, without the Nile, there is no Egypt, as we know it. The very second you step away from those riverbanks, boom, you are immediately back in dry, lifeless desert.
And because of that incredibly harsh geographic reality, we hit this absolutely massive number, 100 million. Over 100 million people live in Egypt today, and nearly all of them are squeezed super tightly into this very, very thin green strip of fertile land located directly along the river's banks.
Now, for thousands of years, that historic little ribbon of land was enough. But since 1990, the population has basically doubled, and as those cities expanded, they rapidly swallowed up previously fertile farmland. The wild consequence of all this vanishing green space is that Egypt has now been forced to import more wheat than any other nation on Earth.
Section 1. The Catalyst. Creating land from scratch.
So to survive, the government had a pretty stark choice to make. They could either keep squeezing a booming population into that same tiny green strip, or they could literally manufacture entirely new agricultural land from scratch. They went with the second option, and they're doing it on a scale that's honestly hard to wrap your head around. Through this massive new Delta project, their goal is to reclaim a staggering 2.5 million acres of pure desert. To put that into perspective, that is like carving an area the size of a small country out of thin air, all specifically to grow vital staple crops like wheat and corn.
And the city of Jerian? That serves as the ultimate showpiece for this whole effort. It features this colossal channel connected directly to the Nile that will actually take up a fifth of the entire city's footprint. It's designed to be this stunning visual centerpiece winding right through the urban center, while also acting as a highly functional, working irrigation source.
Make no mistake, though, we are not just talking about some decorative little trickle of water for nice scenery. 10 million. A massive 10 million cubic meters of actual Nile water are expected to flow through this channel every single day. That immense volume is absolutely necessary to irrigate thousands of acres of crops that, until right now, simply could never have grown there because, well, there was zero water to sustain them.
But check out the incredible density they have planned for this space. Officials want to fit between 2.5 and 3 million families into just 1,680 acres of land. Really think about what that actually means for a second. You are essentially packing a population close to the size of a major American city into a brand new development, built entirely on what used to be just empty sand and rock.
And no, this won't just be some quiet, purely functional farming town out in the middle of nowhere. It's designed to be a highly futuristic metropolis. The blueprints include 80-story skyscrapers, luxury housing, international universities, hospitals, eco-friendly hotels, massive commercial zones, and even a dedicated cultural and media district. It is a full-scale city with an artificial Nile running right through its core like a spine.
There's also a really fascinating tourism angle to this whole thing. Take a look at where this is situated. This brand new, ultra-modern city is being built almost in the literal shadow of humanity's oldest monuments. It's located just minutes from the Grand Egyptian Museum, an international airport, and yes, the legendary Giza pyramids. We are talking about ancient wonders and futuristic towers, separated by only a few miles of open desert. It's a crazy contrast.
So let's trace the timeline driving what the Prime Minister actually called an urban and development revolution. Construction kicked off just 5 months ago, but even in the present day, Jurien alone is already expected to create around 250,000 jobs. And the ultimate target? They want the entire project finished in just 5 years. 5 years. That is an incredibly fast timeline designed to anchor a development zone that's roughly the size of 4 or 5 entire Egyptian provinces combined.
Section 2. The reality check. Debts, dams, and the desert.
All right, so while these megaprojects are constantly presented as essential, must-have investments to relieve severe overcrowding and modernize the economy, we have to look at the real-world costs here, and they are steep. Egypt's foreign debt has absolutely skyrocketed over the past decade. It's roughly quadrupled since 2015, hitting more than $150 billion today.
To somehow keep the broader economy stable, while moving all of these absolutely enormous cities and projects forward at the same time, the country has had to lean heavily on international loans. We're talking massive financial support from institutions like the International Monetary Fund, as well as crucial backing from the European Union.
And then, well, there's the giant elephant standing right in the middle of the desert, the monumental water risk. You see, Egypt is building entirely new cities and millions of acres of farmland, completely on the assumption that there will actually be enough Nile water to go around. But there's this unresolved, long-running dispute over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam located upstream. Any meaningful reduction in the river's flow because of that dam could put severe pressure on the exact kind of ambitious expansion that Djiran represents.
History also gives us a pretty stark reality check here. You might not know this, but decades ago, another massive desert reclamation effort fell way short of its original goals, despite enormous amounts of money and engineering being poured into it. It's just a really vital reminder that previous grand ambitions for desert reclamation in Egypt have definitely struggled to live up to their lofty promises.
All of which brings us to the ultimate question hanging over this entire endeavor. Is Djiran a genuinely brilliant solution to a desperate land and water crisis, or is it an unfulfillable, headline-grabbing promise? Whether this massive bet becomes a defining success story for Egypt's next few decades, or whether it just struggles under mounting debt, all depends on one crucial thing. Will there actually be enough water to keep this artificial river flowing for generations to come? Will sheer human ambition and engineering be enough to successfully reshape the desert, or is the desert just waiting to reclaim the sand? It's a fascinating question to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep exploring the world around you.